don't win the game another yard.
You blitz all night. They cross around Scrooge. I'm taking every one of you out. And again, this is Tim of the Online Big Blue, bringing you the best in New York Giants sports talk entertainment. Oh, we're going to do a late video today. Had some deliveries going to the casa. So I want to jump on the mic real quick because I had two things on my mind. Well, only two, technically three. For those on yesterday's video that pointed out that I did not mention Daniel Bellinger, Dane Belton, or Wan'Dale Robinson in rookies that could potentially start, they're not signed. Well, two of them, Bellinger signed yesterday. Belton and Wan'Dale Robinson have not signed yet. So I'm going with the most up-to-date information that we have. I'm not going to pontificate on players that haven't even been under or aren't under contract yet. So that's the reason why. And honestly, I don't think either one of those guys are going to start. I mean, not within the first 8 to 10 weeks. But that is the reason why. I want to talk about the venerable CBS Sports. Because I got to stay off Twitter because you know what? No adults go on Twitter and people can't have adult conversations about things without people getting upset. But I saw this again about CBS Sports saying that Brian Daboll is the 22nd ranked head coach in the NFL. And people are upset. People are mad. Oh, how could he be 22nd? Well, he's never coached a game. I think 20. If you take a look at the list, I think 22nd is a little high for him. If you take a look at who's above him, you got Mike McDaniel of the Dolphins. Okay. You got Todd Bowles of the Buccaneers. Now, Bowles, of course, flamed out as a head coach early in his career, but, you know, he's got Tom Brady now. He's at over in 20. You got Ron Rivera of the Commanders at 19th, which I could see that. You got McCarthy at 18. You got the Chargers coach at 17, the Eagles coach at 16. You got Zach Taylor at 15. Now, if you take a look who's below the Daboll, this is where it gets kind of interesting. Now, you have the new head coach of the Broncos, so I can see Daboll above him. You also then have Kevin O'Connell, who is also a first-year coach of the Minnesota Vikings, which I could see that as well. Young guy, 37. Then you also have Josh McDaniels of the Raiders. I would probably put McDaniels because he does have more experience than Daboll, above Daboll. He's got an 11-17 record, and he's going to a pretty stacked Raiders team. So you got Dennis Allen of the Saints. Dennis Allen, of course, is another guy that kind of flamed out. He's 8-20. He's 8-28. But I would probably still put Daboll ahead of him. You got the Jets head coach who's 4-13. I'd put Daboll ahead of him. You got Matt Rule, who's 10-23. If he can figure out his quarterback situation, you know, I would put him on par with Daboll. So you have Arthur Smith of the Falcons, who was 7-10 in his career. I would put Daboll over him. You got Dan Campbell of the Lions. Actually, Dan Campbell of the Lions, I would put over Daboll. You got the Bears' new head coach, and I would still put Daboll over him. You got Lovie Smith of the Texans. Now, the Texans are a bad team, but if you're looking at reference to a head coach, I would have Lovie Smith above Daboll every day and twice on Sunday. You got a guy that was 0-1 in the Super Bowl, went 3-3 in the playoffs, and has an 89-87 record. It's his first season with the Texans, so you expect improvement. So technically, out of the guys that are below Shane, I would only put two ahead of Shane. So I may knock Shane down the 24th. Shane. I may knock Daboll to 24th down on the list, but he's pretty much where he should be. He's got to prove that he's not it's funny to say, you got to prove he's not a product of Josh Allen. Because you have to remember his other three stops as OCs all ended in failure and all ended in him being fired or let go or not having his contract renewed. So you have to, and so you giving him the benefit of the doubt at 22nd is pretty good. And I have no complaints. I have no issues. I can't say anything against CBS Sports because of the fact that it makes sense. And I think that's all I got to say about that. I want to talk about our old buddy Kayvon Thibodeaux. Kayvon Thibodeaux talks a lot. And you know what? When everyone is undefeated in July, it's a good thing. It's a fun thing. It's one of those things that you're just like, he's a kid, he's spouting off, he's cocky, he's arrogant, he's all those things. And one of my favorite Chris Rock songs is, it ain't bragging MFer if you back it up. So I got no problem with that. But the problem is when you're a rookie coming into this league, you need to, Crash Davis. I always go back to Crash Davis. You have to play this game with sort of with fear and arrogance. And the problem is he doesn't seem to have the fear. And Ricky Bobby says you got to drive with the fear. How many movie references can I throw in here today? But the problem is you haven't done anything yet. You haven't even stepped on the field yet. You haven't even stepped into a training camp yet. And I love it because I always think of, pride comes before the fall, or pride cometh before the fall. And basically what that means, if you want to go by the Webster's Dictionary, if a person is too arrogant, he or she will make a mistake or fall in a big way. Now, there have been plenty of athletes that have come into New York, talked about how this city is never going to chew them up and spit them out, talked about how they're going to be the guy. And I always think of baseball. You think of Bobby Bonilla. His opening press conference, he's basically said, you're never going to knock this smile off my face. And then 2 months later, he's going to show that reporter the Bronx. Tell him to make your move. I think Ed Whitson of the Yankees, who was a total implosion in reference to being in the New York market. There have been plenty of guys in basketball that have done the same thing, that you've come to New York, you come to the Mecca, you've come to the spotlight, and you don't produce, and you kind of just flame out and disappear. And there's been plenty of guys in football that have done the same thing. Have come in hyping themselves ad nauseum and never living up to their expectations. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen with Kayvon Thibodeaux, but all I'm saying is this. He is predicting at one point in time he's going to get a sack a game. So unless he's planning on missing the game, he's going to get 17 sacks. That's a lot to ask a guy, or ask of yourself, to come in and be that way and pronounce that to the world. He could be projecting it where he's projecting it out into the universe and it's going to happen. But the problem is, in this sport, in football, anyone who has played it at a competitive level and has I don't want to say, doesn't have an issue, but has this arrogance and aura about them. I was totally an arrogant player. I'm arrogant. People tell me I'm arrogant and cocky now, but you know what? I back it up. And that's why over the years, I've been able to be this arrogant person, from when I was playing in college, from when I was in the business world. Were there failures? Of course. But sometimes, it's that thing. Again, I go back to Crash Davis. It's fear and arrogance. And sometimes that fear drives some people to be extra cocky and extra arrogant because of the fact that they are afraid to fail. And that is a key. And just because you are afraid to fail does not mean you're going to succeed. Because of the fact that if you go back to Roy Hobbs' father, boy, all these movie references say Roy Hobbs' father even told Roy, talent's not enough. You have to have other intangibles. Now, I'm not saying that Kayvon is not going to have other intangibles. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying he's not going to get 17 and a half sacks. I'm not saying he's not going to pull a Mark Messier, guaranteeing the win over the Devils. I'm not saying he's not going to pull a Joe Namath and guarantee the Super Bowl win. I'm not saying he's not going to do any of these things. But when you overhype yourself and the hype machine is rolling and you are sitting there and it's week 6 and you have 2 sacks because of the fact that the league is tougher and stronger and faster than you can imagine until you first get used to it. It's the same thing transitioning from high school to college. The game had, and multitudes of athletes have talked about, especially in professional football, the game needs to slow down for you. And if anyone that has played understands that, because I can tell you, because at first everything seems to be going so fast, so quick, like you can't see anything. Like you have blinders on, like there's tunnel vision, like everything around you is going so quickly that it's 10 times faster than you're used to. But then you reach a point where things slow down. where things reach a level where you're seeing things before they happen. But sometimes for some players that could take a week. Sometimes it could take 16 weeks. And I'm not telling him not to be arrogant. I'm not going to say, listen, I'm not telling anyone not to be arrogant, not to be cocky, because that's what I am. And I admit it freely. But like I said, I back it up. And I've backed it up over a proven career in both sports and in my professional life. But you know what? There was always that fear. There's always the fear of failure. All I'm saying for Kayvon is, listen, you know what? When you reach that point, if you reach that point where you are getting pushed around, where you are getting manhandled, where you are getting taken out of the play, where you are going up against offensive linemen who after college did not go and work selling insurance, who are in the NFL, who are just as strong and big as you are and fast. You have to sit there and rethink yourself that, you know what, you don't get down on yourself, but you don't, but you then don't get into that over cocky mode where it starts getting worse. Because we all know this, and it happened to Joe Judge, and I told everyone it happened to Joe Judge, and I told everyone what's going to happen quickly. You start losing, you start doing things, all the cute things that everyone likes to write about and everyone likes to pontificate about, they will take those things and use them against you and rip you to shreds with them. And that's what happened to Joe. So I understand that Michael Strahan's mentoring him, and I think that's great, and I think that's wonderful. But some people need to remember what Michael Strahan was like early in his career, and I think people. I'm not gonna go through it, but you may want to just kind of look it up a little bit. So hopefully, like I said, he finds Kayvon that medium ground, that happiness between fear and arrogance. And he turns into something special, and he turns into something special under Wink because of the fact that that's what you need. That's what you have to have. He needs to be.
Am I the meanest?
Sure enough.
Am I the prettiest?
Sure enough.
Am I the baddest mofo low down around this time?
Sure enough.
When that happens, I will deem him show enough. It'll be show enough Thibodeaux. But until that happens, just remember, pride cometh before the fall. Play with fear and arrogance, and everything will. If you have the talent, and you have the ability, and you have the will, maybe he will end up Defensive Rookie of the Year. Hopefully we're working on getting the big surprise for the August 21st game taken care of. Hopefully it'll get situated mañana. And if it does, and we figure out something else, we're going to make that announcement. We are going to make that announcement on a live stream. We're going to have more information on my 40-yard challenge, where I'm going to drop a perfect 40-yard pass from the 35-yard line, 5 yards deep in the end zone to James Williams after the game on August 21st. We will be recording that. We're going to do something for charity with that. I haven't figured that out yet, but we're going to have more information about that. And again, this is Tim with the Online Big Blue, bringing you the best in New York Giants sports talk and entertainment. And as always, if you could like, subscribe, if you can ring that bell, that'd be awesome.